Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They're international. They're awesome. I've gotten great feedback from them. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, so as you can see, I am not in my normal setting. I am off visiting La Familia. So I'm in a park. So hopefully the cell signal continues to work and the skies do not open with rain. So there that is. Okay, so today's thing, I wanted to cover a bunch of stuff that is in the news today. So we have parental interference. And I want to talk about this because the lack of habeas corpus and the the amendments all have to do with what happens to us if our abuser somehow gets us in trouble with the law. So let's talk about parental interference very quickly. Okay, parental interference, specifically custodial interference, can be a felony, at least in the state of Arizona. Now, it is a felony in most states, not all. You would definitely have to look at the state to see if it's a felony or not. Here's a more detailed breakdown. Class 3 felony. If someone other than the parent, custodian, or agent takes or entices or withholds a child from lawful custody. So, family members, friends, etc. Class 6 felony. If a parent or their agent commits interference within Arizona and the child is not voluntarily returned before arrest. Class 4 felony. If a parent or their agent takes, entices, or keeps a child from lawful custody out of the state. Class 1 misdemeanor. If the child is returned without physical injury within 48 hours of being taken or withheld. So yeah, it is a felony in the state of Arizona. So why am I bringing this up? Because our government is trying to get rid of habeas corpus. So what does that mean? Habeas corpus means produce the body. So in other words, the person being accused must appear in court in person. So you cannot do it in absentia unless there are special circumstances and you get, it's clear that they're being convicted and they know what's going on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically habeas corpus, let me pull this back up. Habeas corpus is a medieval Latin term. You should have the body, a legal procedure by which a report can be made to a court alleging unlawful detention or imprisonment of an individual, requesting that the court order the individual's custodian, usually the prison official, to bring the prisoner to court to determine whether the detention is lawful. So in other words, they cannot just arrest you, throw you in a jail somewhere, and then not have any recourse to get out. Do you see where I'm going with that? So this does not just affect immigrants or whoever they're going after now. If we get rid of habeas corpus, that means they can pull that with anybody. And about narcissists. If they think they can get their spouse, ex-spouse in trouble with custodial interference, do you not think they're not going to try to pull that? Hello? So habeas corpus is a basic rule of, madam, what are you doing? Can you take her in? They're squirrels. So they're a little squirrely. So habeas corpus is a basic rule of law. Any lawyer, any judge, any congressman should be horrified that they're trying to get rid of this. The only countries that do not have habeas corpus are dictatorships. I cannot stress that enough. And if you think this isn't going to affect victims of domestic violence, you're smoking the ganja. Seriously, it is going to affect victims of domestic violence because who are the abusers? Narcissists. Who are a lot of the judge? Narcissists. Who are a lot of the cops? Narcissists. You're screwed if we don't have these protections in place. That's why you should care. So there's habeas corpus. Now, Sixth Amendment. This is also something you need to know. You need to know your rights. The fact that a lot of you guys didn't know you did not need to speak to a police officer really terrified me for you, because it's like police officers use manipulation, good cop, bad cop, to get people to talk. So you need to know your rights so that in case anything happens with your ex, you can with confidence be like, nope, I'm not talking to you. I want an attorney, or whatever right is being smushed. So this is the Sixth Amendment. Sixth Amendment, in all criminal prosecutions, which would have to do with custodial interference, The accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. So, in other words, they can't just do this in private. They can't just do this in secret. It can't just be like, we're going to prosecute these people and not have a public trial. The only countries that do that, again, are dictatorships. That's why our founding fathers put that in the Constitution, to make sure that King George or whatever a-hole dictator couldn't just come along, throw people in jail, and not give them the right to a speedy trial. King George used to throw people in jail and they would not be seen for literally years. Years and years and years. That is not how we do it in America. That's how we should not be doing it in America. Our Constitution gives us the right to a speedy and public, very public trial. Okay, there's that. By an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which has previously been determined or ascertained by law. So here's the deal. You cannot just arrest somebody and then shuffle them off to another state. That's against the Sixth Amendment. So how easy would it be for a corrupt judge or a corrupt official or a corrupt anybody to be buddies with the ex who happens to be a narcissist to nudge, nudge, wink, wink, get you shipped off to another state so that you can't have a fair trial, so that you can't speak up for yourself. This doesn't just affect immigrants. I cannot push this enough. This is not just about illegal immigrants. If they push this through, I can guarantee you they're going to start using it on anybody they don't like. So there's that. All right. And to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation. In other words, you cannot just be thrown in jail and not told what you're charged with. They must tell you what the nature of the accusation is. Okay. And you must be confronted with witnesses. So there has to be witnesses, there has to be evidence, and there must be a compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in the accused favors. And you have the right to assistance of counsel. So basically, again, like the Miranda rights, you have the right to an attorney. And you have the right to present your own evidence. And they're trying to get rid of this because they don't want to bother with trying to ascertain who is a legal citizen and who is not. And that's dangerous. Now, here's the other thing I am scared of. I am hearing more and more stories of people being detained by ICE that are citizens. And if they resist them, they get their TSA taken away from them. They get their global entry taken away from them. How is that, America? Do you see where the abuse is going to go? You give a moron an inch of power and they will take a mile. And if they're a narcissistic moron, they'll take more than a mile. So you got to be careful, guys. You got to know your rights and you got to know who to contact, and you cannot be afraid, because I tell you what, they live in fear, obligation, and guilt. So if you give a damn about your rights, which you should as survivors of abuse, I strongly urge you to call your senators and complain about ICE, and complain about the Sixth Amendment being trampled over, and complain about habeas corpus being threatened to be revoked. We've had habeas corpus since the Magna Carta. So it's just, don't even get me started. I'm so angry right now. I could spit nails. Anyway, that's that. Now let's talk about emotions. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Emotions are important. Oh, wait, back up. Today is Mother's Day. So I know this is a really tough day for people that had moms that were abusive. So if your mom was abusive and you're having a hard time with today, write it out, burn it, do something nice for yourself, take care of yourself. Today and Father's Day are the 2 days that I absolutely, absolutely hate. Absolutely hate. So if you're having a rough time with today, honestly, reach out, talk to friends, get a hold of somebody that's going to be supportive. Write it out, do something nice for yourself. Really, really important. And avoid all of the Mother's Day hoopla if you possibly can. I do the same thing on Father's Day because I can't stand Father's Day because I didn't have a good dad. So it's kind of like, I don't want to see this stuff. All right, now diving into emotions. So all emotions are good. All emotions are good. It's what we do with them that make them helpful or hurtful. So, for example, I've often heard people say, oh, anger is a bad emotion. It's a futile emotion. I shouldn't be angry. What? You're human. You're human. Anger is a part of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So when the amygdala perceives a threat of any kind, okay, it will send a distress signal to the hypothalamus hippocampus. These two guys sends out the cortisol. Cortisol gets us to tense up because we're getting ready to fight, run away, freeze, or give in so we don't get killed. Okay. At that point, we're not breathing. Oxygen, CO2 is wonky, and now we're taking puffy little breaths, racing thoughts, pounding heart, pounding heart. And at this point, a lower part of our brain, our more primitive part of our brain, gets involved and goes, oh my God, we're going to die. There's no oxygen. What do we do? So it tells the adrenal gland that sits on top of the kidney to release everything at once. So now we're shaking like a leaf, racing thoughts, pounding heart, puffy little breaths, not going anywhere. We're going to keel over. At this point, we either keel over, right, into a panic attack, full-blown panic attack, or some of us turn into the Incredible Hulk. So anger is a response to threats, and it's just a part of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So if you turn into the Incredible Hulk, it would be a really good idea to breathe. Breathe, 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 breathe. The anger is letting you know you're threatened. Now, if people are conscious about their anger, that's great. Being conscious about the anger is totally okay, and you can mitigate it. You can kind of be like, ooh, yeah, I'm really angry right now. And that's what I do. When I feel anger, I let those around me know I am feeling anger right now. And I'd really like to lash out, but I am not going to. But I am warning you right now, I am pissed, capital P. So people know to back off, or they know to be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant, or, whatever. So anger serves multiple functions. It lets us know when we're threatened, okay? It also is the bodyguard of the softer emotions. So like hurt, sadness, fearful. It keeps that safe. And we present with anger because who is going to mess with you when you're turning into the Incredible Hulk? Nobody in their right mind. Seriously, nobody in their right mind is going to mess with you. So that's often why we learn to go straight to anger when we're being threatened, because we've learned that if we turn into the Incredible Hulk, people leave us alone. Unfortunately. So anger is not bad. It's what we do with it that gives it the bad reputation. If we lash out, if we hurt other people, if we hurt ourselves, those are all not helpful behaviors. Does that make sense? So anger is not bad. It's just letting you know that either you're threatened or you're trying to protect, you're hurt or you're sad or you're fearful. And really, all of those emotions are okay. They let us know what's going on. So we often have such a, what's the word I'm looking for? We have such a weird idea about what we can and cannot express. You can express anger, you just can't lash out at people and hurt them. That's not okay. Which is why I give fair warning. It's a warning shot across the bow. It's like, don't mess with me, man. You know what I mean? So you can be angry. It's okay to be angry. In fact, it's normal to be angry when somebody hurts us, or it's normal to be angry when we're feeling threatened. You bet. It's when we don't analyze the anger, when we don't assess the anger, and when we don't start working with the anger that it comes out and it hurts us or it hurts other people. So anger is not a bad emotion. Anger is there as kind of like a guide. It's like, ooh, either I'm hiding the sad, the hurt, or the fearful, or I'm feeling a threat and I need to protect myself. So that's not bad. The other thing we got hit with growing up, well, at least for me, growing up with an abuser, is we couldn't cry. Tears were not safe. I've heard this from so many people, is that crying was not safe. That's when the abuser knew we were vulnerable. So they would manipulate, they would punish, they would put down, they would make wrong, they would do all sorts of horrible things. So we've gotten to this point where we don't cry, or we don't cry in front of other people. So tears are cathartic. Every single mammal on the face of the planet tears up when they feel pain. When we're tearing up, we are feeling pain. So it's okay to cry. Now, last week I got asked a question about, well, what about at work? I get, there's this person that just gets me and I get frustrated. And the first thing I do is start crying. A lot of us do that because When we got frustrated, were we able to vocalize it? No. Could we say to the person directly, wow, I'm really angry right now? No. Wasn't safe, which is why I now make a point. If I get angry, I name it. But you can't do that to your abuser. If you're in an abusive relationship, I would have a deeper conversation with the trees behind me. Seriously. So when you're having to deal with an abuser and they're riling you up, first of all, you've got to make the distinction. What is the end goal here? Oh, they want me to be angry, upset, crying, etc. Because remember, narcissists cannot stand any emotion that they don't want. So tears to them are delicious. It is. They eat up our tears. They enjoy it. It makes them feel powerful because they're sadistic mother cluckers. Absolutely. Anger, that they understand anger. That's pretty much the only emotion that they really truly have and understand. But then they make us wrong for having it. They're the only ones that can have it. We can't. Um, Happiness, they get angry when we get happy because they don't feel happy. And so they have to ruin it. They ruin birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because they can't stand the joy. They literally can't. It drives them crazy. So we need to work on emotional regulation when we are in situations like a work situation and we're around abusers. Your emotions are still okay. You just got to understand these people, these abusers, these coworkers, these whatever, they're not safe to have those emotions with. So if you feel like you're going to tear up, I would just be like, I'm so sorry, I have to go to the bathroom. And then go to the bathroom, splash some water on your face, get yourself back together. And if you can avoid them, avoid them. If you have to come back into the conversation, remind yourself, pep talk, this is their stuff. Yes, I'm frustrated. Yes, I'm angry. And I can't change them. That's where I think a lot of the frustration and the anger comes in, is because we've said things to them over and over and over and over and over, and they don't freaking listen, and they don't change, and they don't want to change, and they're interested in blaming, and so we get very frustrated and we start crying because we're not being heard. But you got to understand, there are none so deaf and none so blind as those who refuse to hear and see. They don't want to know. They don't care. They really truly don't. So emotional regulation is really important. I strongly suggest getting with a trauma therapist because there's a reason you're tearing up when confronted with that situation. So one thing you could do is write it out ahead of time. Well, if they do X, Y, and Z and I feel like tearing up, here's what I'm going to do. Or here's what I'm going to tell myself. So you got to keep separating it out. I think a lot of things is that we oftentimes personalize and we take personally what other people are doing because it reminds us of our family of origin or it reminds us of our abuser. So it's really important to not personalize. It's really important to separate out, whoa, this is their stuff. They're looking for entertainment. I'm not going to be their entertainment. So when you're dealing with people like that, you remove yourself or you gray rock, you give them nothing. Oh, it looks like you're about to cry. No, I've got allergies. Seriously, you do not play. You gray rock and you do not play because you owe them nothing. They're coworkers. You don't live with them. You don't have to worry about them 24/7. If it's that bad, yes, stoicism is gray rocking essentially. It's basically you don't give them angry, you don't give them sad, you don't give them anything. Because if you give them any emotion, especially if you're distressed, oh my God, that is their cocaña. That is it. Oh, they love that crap. They really do. They'll just nose candy that up. You bet. So you don't give them anything at all. For you, however, as the survivor of abuse, when we come out of an abusive relationship, oftentimes we're completely numb. Like, completely numb. Like, we don't even know what we like anymore or what we don't like or happiness. What is this foreign concept? I don't know. So it's really important to work on your emotions. What are you feeling? What is your gut telling you? What are you feeling? Where we do sometimes get messed up is we confuse facts for feelings. So feelings are not facts, they're feelings. That's it. Facts are facts, feelings are feelings. But it's important to know what you are feeling. And maybe there's some facts to back up that feeling. Okay. So say, for example, you're angry. I am really angry. Okay, what am I angry about? Oh, I'm angry because I got disrespected. Ooh, okay, that's a fact. So I can let the person know I'm angry because I got disrespected, but I don't just come at them, without a fact backing up the feeling. Does that make sense? So emotions are incredibly important. Understanding your emotions. What does it mean to you? Where do you feel it in your body? Seriously, Body Keep Score, Bessel van de Kolk, very good book. Strongly suggest it. So we feel emotions in our body. What does it feel like to feel happy? Where do you feel sad? Where do you feel anger? Where do you feel content? Where do you feel hopeful? Where do you feel whatever? You know what I'm saying? It's like get back in touch with your feelings. And punching bags are great. I love punching bags. I have one at home. I do punch the living crap out of it. The last one I cracked actually, but it's great. It's a really good way to get your anger out. And generally what I find is if there's so much anger and you can't quite access the softer emotions, if you work out on a punching bag, boy, you're going to get in touch with the softer stuff. You're going to start crying or you're going to start feeling, oh, this is why I'm so angry or whatever. So crying is a good thing, guys. It's cathartic. It releases all of that, sadness or hurt or anger or whatever. So, but you've got to be careful who you cry in front of. It does have to be somebody safe, because if they're not safe, oh my goodness, they will use your emotion as a means to punish you, or as a means to manipulate you, or as a means to make you feel wrong. So all of the emotions are good. It's what we do with them that make them helpful or hurtful. So don't discount anger. So when we come out of the abusive relationship, whether it's a family of origin or whether it is, oh, thank you, or whether it is a romantic relationship, oftentimes, besides being numb, we also are like, I can't get mad at my abuser. I can't. It's not okay. It's not safe. And I'm like, oh, we need to work on that because, oh, yeah, you have righteous anger. There is nothing wrong with righteous anger. So I've heard a lot of people be like, oh, well, but I can't be angry. It's not holy, or it's not this, or it's not that. Look, when somebody does something to you intentionally and they hurt you, you're gonna get pissed. We're humans. I'm sorry. It's gonna happen. Anger, like I said, is only helpful or hurtful based on what we do with it. So I strongly recommend that if you're having a hard time getting angry at your abuser, write it out. Write it out. Get it out of your head, get it onto paper, burn it after you write it. Read it through once, then burn it, because they're never going to see it. Make sure you do this when you're away from them and you're out of the relationship. You don't want anything that you've written to be used against you. So, writing it out, the good, the bad, the ugly, the horrific, goodbye in no uncertain terms, go pound sand, as many FUs as you need. I'm kicking you out of my head. You don't get to live up here rent free one more minute. Goodbye, piss off, pound sand, whatever. Trot it out to the barbecue, read it out loud once, burn it. Allow yourself to feel angry. It's okay. That's righteous anger. It's justified. Am I mad at what my dad did? Yes, I am. You betcha. There is no excuse for that. None. Zip, zero, zilch, nada. Do I hang on to that every damn day? No, I don't. And the thing of it is that people go, oh well, I don't want to deal with the anger. I'm just going to shove the anger over here. Well, guess what, guys? If we shove the anger under a carpet, that carpet is going to get real lumpy and really hard to clean. So what you need to do is take that anger out, clean up all the lumps that were underneath it, maybe give the carpet a good, broom beating, write letters, etc. Do you see the analogy here? And you absolutely work through that anger, because otherwise you're still angry. People used to tell me all the time, oh my God, Chris, you're angry so much. This is Chris happy. This is Chris sad. This is Chris, mellow. I was angry all the time because I was so angry at my dad. And I hadn't dealt with it because I didn't think I could, because he kept telling me, oh, you can't be angry at me. You can't be angry at me. You can't be angry at me. Well, then I finally, through therapy, was like, guess what, mother clucker? Yeah, I can. And when I let it out, oh boy, howdy, that's why I got a punching bag. So, and something to think about. If we stay angry, I don't want you to stay angry. I want you to express your anger, let it out, Let it go. Because if we stay angry at our abuser, that is a maladaptive way of trying to keep them close to us so we can fix them. So, what my therapist told me, and I'm sure I've told you guys this, and I'm pretty sure I wrote about it in my book, which, Madam, what are you doing? She's circling the table. The clouds. Oh, yeah. It might start raining. And there's a squirrel going, "Why are you sitting here?" Um, Speaking of squirrels, squirrel. Um, my therapist told me, she's like, "Chris, you're holding on to your anger in a way to try to fix your dad. Even though he's dead, you're trying to still fix him, because if you can keep him close with your anger, you can somehow figure out a way to make it better, and you can't." And I was just like, damn, you're right. Oh, now I'm pissed at you. That's a good therapist will understand that. So yeah, we do. We hang on to that anger in a maladaptive way to keep trying to figure out how to fix them, and you can't. There is no fixing them. They are broken beyond repair, and it's not our job. It's not, Madam, can you pick a spot? Thank you. It's not our job to fix them. It really is not. So it's okay to be angry, but don't hang on to the anger. Let it out, acknowledge it, validate it. Yes, I am angry because you did X, Y, and Z to me. That hurt. You hurt me as a child. How dare you? But then you let it go. You do not need to forgive them. That is the big thing. I've had people go, "Well, you said let go of the anger. Does that mean I have to forgive them?" Hell no. You don't have to forgive them. It's like, look, I acknowledge and validate every rotten thing that my dad ever did to me. Do I forgive him for what he did? No, he can go pound sand. Do I need to have him live in my head every damn second? Nope, I don't. Generally, the only time I ever think about him is when I'm doing this show or I'm helping clients, and that's it. So I can use examples that will help other people. So, anyway, emotions, all emotions are good. Crying is good. Anger is good. Sadness, hurt, content, hopeful, they're all good. But if we express them to a narcissist or to a disordered person, they will, anything you say can and will be used against you. Absolutely. So you need to know who you can express with and who you can't. I'm thinking I just heard thunder. Did you hear thunder? Okay. She's shaking. We're going to cut it. So if there's questions, and there's no questions. Okay, great. Then if you do have questions, put them in the chat below, not in the chat here, in the chat below when I go off air. And we're going to get out of here before it starts lightning, and we're sitting at a metal table. So peace out, people. Next week, we will be talking about, yes, they would. Oh, yes, they would. Don't you tell me, oh, no, they would never. Yes, they would. That's what we're going to talk about. All right, guys. Love you. Be good. Drink water. See you. Bye. Yeah, she started shaking.